Hey everyone, it's Amanda from Crystal Coast Originals. Thank you for joining me today. Before we get started, I wanted to show you guys the dried results of the video that you're going to be seeing today. Now this is an Eclipse swipe, that's what I like to call it. And I have done these in the past. For the older videos, I mainly used just a black background, but I wanted to do something different, so I decided why not use a beige background. And I'm really liking how this turned out. It looks really cool. The swipe colors that I used are burnt umber and gold. I did use a little bit of white. I started out using more white, but I kind of wasn't liking how the white was taking over. So I switched and kind of only used the white sparingly for just a few swipes, and you'll see that in the video. I have had people try this technique in the past, and they've told me they have had a little bit of difficulty with it, that the paintings aren't turning out as they envisioned. So I wanted to give you guys 4 tips that might help you when you're doing this technique. Tip number 1 is you want to have the least amount of base paint possible. You want to have enough base paint to cover the canvas and so that you're able to swipe. But any excess, you want to make sure you either tilt it off or blow it off with a hairdryer. I personally like to use a hairdryer. It might just be me, but I feel like a hairdryer will evenly distribute the paint better. So what I like to do is start from the middle and then just blow out towards the edges. Tip number 2 is that you want the paint to be a little bit on the thicker side. The formula that I use is 1 part paint to 2 parts Floetrol to 1 part water. But pay attention to the type of paints that you're using. For example, if you're using deco art tends to be a little more watery or runny than brands such as Liquitex or Amsterdam. So you might not want to add quite as much water to deco art. You want the paint to be a little bit thicker so that when you do the swipes kind of stay in a straight line. If the paint's too runny, you're going to kind of get some movement and some flow that you might not be looking for. Tip number 3 is the swiping tool. I use one of my business cards to swipe. This is actually an old business card with the wrong email address on there. I don't know how I did that, but somehow I ordered like 500 business cards with the incorrect email address. But that's okay, because instead of throwing them away, now I have them as swipe tools. So I suggest using something that's a little bit more sturdy than, say, a paper towel. Business cards work great if you have a plastic scraper or maybe some type of flimsy plastic. That would probably be a little bit better than just using something like a wet paper towel. My 4th and final tip is practice and patience. You guys, I think this is a very difficult technique to master, and it can be very time consuming. I've been doing swipes for a very long time, for years, and this painting took me an hour and a half of just swiping to finish. That's not counting all the mixing of the paint and everything else that's involved with the painting. Just the swiping part took me about an hour and a half. And it can be pretty tedious. You have to make sure you place the paints in the correct spot when you're swiping. This is definitely not a painting that you'll be able to finish in 5 or 10 minutes. So don't be discouraged if it takes you a while. Just keep practicing.